Good afternoon, everyone. 안녕하세요. 안녕하십니까. Magandang hapon po sa ating lahat. You are here at the UP Korea Research Center K-Culture Forum entitled Glocalization of K-Culture in the Philippines. Something that we have been actually waiting for after so many fora already related to Korean pop culture. Hopefully, we'll have a different side of discussion on Korean culture with glocalization as our central topic. Okay. Before I continue, let me introduce myself. I'm Helwina Sadora, or you can call me Wena. I'm from Korean Drama Society Philippines. I was the one who moderated actually from Cloy, and I'm so glad that KRC gave me this honor and opportunity to host or moderate this afternoon's forum. I'm very excited to hear actually from our panelists today. At dahil marami ding curious actually sa topic na to, hopefully magstay tayo until end of the program. If you're posting, by the way, either via YouTube or via Facebook, you can use the hashtags #UPKRC and #KCulture. And also, we would like to acknowledge some of those who have already tuned in with us today. Dr. Eduardo Gonzalez from and for those who are from Korean Cultural Center, and of course some students also who have been waiting for this forum. Thank you very much for always supporting Korea Research Center in its endeavors. Okay, before we continue, let us hear from the OIC Director of the Korea Research Center to welcome us to formally open this event. Let me call on the hardworking, very precious to all of us here, Dr. Kyung Min Bae. Listening?
안녕하세요. 네. Magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. 안녕하세요, 여러분. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining UPKRC K-Culture Forum today. In 2020, as UPKRC was about to start new research project, unforeseen pandemic began and hit all over the world. No one knew how long the initial lockdown would last, which still affects most of us in daily life, and our academic initiatives were also on hold. Just like anyone else or any other institutions, it was also our first time that we went through this kind of rough time. So we needed to strategize and think of what are the possible activities we could continue and how to do those in order to continue our Korean studies endeavor. With our former OIC director, Dr. Ardrin Lee, and our staff, Pam Hakar, we have tried to widen our networks virtually and held new forms of activities. And one of our new brands was UPKRC K-Culture Forum. Although we annually held public fora, K-Culture Forum was designed to focus on Korean culture phenomena, not just what is happening in Korea, but also what is distinctive in the Philippines. Also, this is a part of our year-long research project entitled Projecting Korean Soft Power and Creative Industry Development, Localization, Hybridization, and Innovation in the Philippines. Globally, especially for the last decade, we have witnessed how the Korean culture in various types and forms in many parts of the world really flourished. But how about in the Philippines? What is the inflow of Korean culture to the Philippines? And what new domains or characteristics does it really create locally? With these questions, we have prepared today's K-Culture Forum to hear from experts in various culture industries and exchange interesting and crucial insights together. We hope today's forum will inspire young generation to see Korean culture in more creative and critical aspects and hope to expand our networks to wider culture industries. So thank you very much and let us have fun today. Maraming salamat po. 감사합니다.
Yeah, we really appreciate Dr. Beb being a trilingual also. uh, of course, it's not only Dr. Be that's welcoming us today, but we're also glad that one of our partners here in UPKRC, the Korean Cultural Center, has been giving us a lot of support. By the way, I also would like to acknowledge Dr. Adrian Lee, our former OIC, who's here also watching us. So KCC has been really partnering through the years with KRC, and though she's not here with us live, we're glad to hear from Miss Yong Aim, the director of Korean Cultural Center. She sent us a message of welcome and introduction. Let's hear her from this video.
안녕하세요. Good afternoon. I'm Yong-Ah Im, the director of Korea Cultural Center in the Philippines. I'm so overwhelmed by the remarkable growth and popularity of Korean culture over the world, especially here. The Korean culture phenomenon in the Philippines is not just a story of yesterday. It has been affecting the daily lives of Filipinos, and that it has been building its own identity by combining with the Filipino culture. On that account, Korean Culture Center has also tried to introduce the mixed culture of both countries through food, such as kimchi sinigang. We showcase the recipe of kimchi sinigang through our digital talk and cooking series Chika Hanshik. It tastes familiar more than you thought. In a way, it has proven that both Filipino and Korean culture can be brought together and create good and new cultural things. Today's forum means a lot as we can hear out how Korean culture has grown together with Filipino culture. I hope it will serve as a meaningful platform for more active cultural exchange between the two countries. 감사합니다.
네, 우리도 감사합니다, 원장님. Thank you, Miss Yong Aim, for that reminder, of course, that despite this pandemic, now there's so many innovations happening between and connections further now with Korea and the Philippines. If you want to know more about KCC, you can log in at their website, www.phih.korean/culture.org. Okay, or you can Google Korean Cultural Center and links will follow. Okay, so there, thank you very much again, KCC. Before we continue, let me just give you a quick overview of our program. Okay, so we're here to have a really meaty discussion on our topic, but the way that we will do it is this. First, we'll introduce our panelists, and then they will introduce their area of work, their organization, what has been happening in their side of either industry or at least efforts in the government. And then after that, we'll have 3 rounds of questions for all our panelists, and we'll all after discussing questions from those group of cluster of topics, will open the floor for questions. So while listening in, we can see your comments, and probably you can type your questions in later via YouTube and Facebook. We'll do our best, as long as time permits, to address your questions. So stand by, and I hope that you'll have a good, you'll gain a lot of insights from this forum. Okay, so let us, by the way, let's not forget, we'll have a synthesis also at the end by somebody who's also my favorite in this kind of event. No? Later, we'll get to know him more again. Okay, let us introduce our panelists. As I call your name, yeah, please show yourself via video and say a quick hello. And then I'll call you again later for your presentation of your industry or your organization. Okay, I'm very honored to introduce our panelists for today. First is the Vice President for Get Entertained Tribe of Globe Telecom Incorporated. She is a key driver in the digital transformation of Globe via content partnerships and portfolio development. Ms. Jill joined Globe in May 2003 as a media consultant and has held various positions in content product and business development. Prior to that, she had over a decade of experience in the pay TV industry in the fields of sales, marketing, and programs acquisitions. Ladies and gentlemen, let us all welcome Ms. Jill Bausa-Go.
Hi everyone, thanks Wena. I'm so
Yes.
glad to be back in UP. Nice to
Wow.
see you all.
Good afternoon po, and thank you, Ms. Jill, for joining us. Okay, we'll hear from her more later. Salamat po. Next is the Vice President for Sales and Marketing and the Head of the Digital Products Department of Adarna House. I'm a personal fan also of Adarna. I have a lot of books from your company, sir. Under his leadership, the publishing imprint Apop Books was established, translating best-selling Korean titles into English and bringing Korea closer to people's hearts. He is also the president and the CEO of Buri Technologies, a software development company that focuses on e-learning. Let us all welcome Mr. Agno Almario. Sir,
Hi, good afternoon everyone.
magandang hapon po. Salamat po ulit sa pag-join sa amin. Thank you, Sir Agno. Okay. And also we have a graduating student of Bachelor of Arts in Theater Arts, and the outgoing chairperson of the College of Arts and Letters Student Council at the University of the Philippines, Diliman, a recipient of the Jerry Rojas Leadership Award. He was the production manager of SEA Games 2019 opening ceremony for the Property Department held at the Philippine Arena last November 2019, and Dekada 70, the musical held at the Arete Ateneo de Manila University last February 2020. Currently, Joshua is working with the Cultural Center of the Philippines as project head of Kanto Kultura with its first online band competition titled Kanto Kanta. We'd like to hear more about this Kanto Kultura from none other than Mr. Joshua Chan. Joshua?
Hello guys. Hello po. Magandang hapon po sa ating lahat. Thank you UP Korea Research Center for inviting Cultural Center of the Philippines.
Okay. Thank you din, Joshua. We'll hear more from you. Yan. I'm also
Sige
from
po.
Cal. So, mga taga-Cal, astig yan eh. Yan. And of course, sabi ko nga, fan ako nitong sunod nating isa sa ating mga speakers din, no, who will give us a synthesis for today's forum. Let us welcome also Dr. Eric Paulo Capistrano from the College of Business Administration or Cesar E.A. Virata. Hindi ako sanay masyado dun sa translation. Sorry, napaghahalata yung student number ko. Cesar E.A. Virata School of Business, University of the Philippines. Let's all welcome Dr. Eric Capistrano.
Hello, good afternoon, and it's nice to be back. And hopefully we can learn a lot from the panelists, and I can have a meaningful synthesis later on to summarize all of what they're saying. Good luck to all of our panelists this afternoon.
Yes, maraming salamat po. Kamsahamnida, Kisanim. Okay. Now that we have seen, we have at least met our panelists, let's go and introduce them again as they give us their presentation, okay, about their industry and their work. First is from Globe Telecommunications. We would like first to introduce her presentation by showing this video, quick video. So can we put that up, please? Thank you.
Oh my God.
It's amazing.
Yes. No. So.
Having Globe really partner with Sky is a great way to really connect with people in the Philippines even better.
Merry Christmas. Yeah.
Let us welcome back from Globe, Miss Jill Bausa-Go.
Thank you, Anna. Thanks, Direct. Thank you for playing that video. It always never fails to put a smile on my face. What a fun job I have. No? So let me take you through a quick presentation to take everyone on the background of what Globe is doing in the K-culture space. Next slide, please. Okay. So we are the leading telco in the Philippines for the mobile market with close to 80 million base. And my division is called Get Entertained Tribe. We bring to life content partnerships that enable how Filipinos can actually live life to the fullest. And last year, when the pandemic lockdown rocked the globe, no pun intended, digital productivity tools really saved our lives. No? So as you can see in the picture here, there are a lot of enabling tools out there that really just needs to be discovered by the customers to help them live a daily life from a productive perspective. So I think all of us, 40 million Filipinos now have GCash, and everybody actually turned to cashless solutions so that we're all safe as we go through the daily essentials of getting our food and all of our essentials, earning, learning from home, etc. Next slide, please. So we are a telco partner of choice of some of the best content partners in the world in order to provide access to unique and unforgettable experiences and propositions to our customers. So how do we find these partnerships? We take a look at the worldwide trends and local trends as well and try to spot them even before they become mainstream in the market. Now, so that's not different to how we actually spotted K-culture rising a few years back. Next slide, please. So in this slide, I think all the K fans are familiar. This shows why we locked into K-culture as a central proposition of our offers to our customers. No? So K-culture is really taking the world by storm, and no different here in the Philippines, even just gauging on Facebook metrics alone. So of the top 10 K groups, the Philippines ranks in the top 3 in 6 of the 10 top lists showing our over-indexed K fandom. Pinoy talaga, no? So last year, we had close to 30 online executions of K events alone, but actually, we started way back since 2014 and bringing the leading groups to Manila in partnership with foremost content providers and events organizers like Apop and also View. So our executions since then definitely have grown bigger and better with the massive online tweak done last year to adapt to the COVID challenges. The next slide shows our overall K story. No? As you can see, we support K fandom massively, and whether it is via fostering communities through K-Unity or enabling premium content consumption and commerce, mounting of K events for those unique experiences, and K content creation. I'll go through each one quickly in the next few slides. In 2019, Next slide, please. We established Community. It was actually born primarily to be an original platform to get first dibs on ticket sales. No, Korean concerts, very famous in terms of, let's say, a few minutes ubus na. No, so this was one of the ways for us to actually give first dibs to our Globe customers. But it has since then evolved into a favorite platform for K-like-minded individuals to share their love and appreciation for everything K. No? So we now have a growing base, not just on Facebook, but also VLive. I hope you know what VLive is. If you don't, please download it later. We also have a good presence and following on Twitter and Viber. And we provide online fan meets to access their idols because now there's actually no more tool for them to see them physically. We offer curated experiences and customized content. Merch was a recent execution and watch parties to proxy the lost experiences from the pandemic. Okay, so next slide shows you these engagements are made possible by our content partnerships with the leading OTT companies in the region. No? So like all fandoms, in the next slide, it is not complete without the premium merch to surround yourselves with everything that you love. No? So these are just some tiny tan merch that we released last month. And last year, next slide, please. These were just some of the innovative online first, sorry for my dog, online first in the Philippines that we created for the fans to enjoy. No? So we pivoted to digital execution across all of our brands, including Globe Prepaid Virtual Hangouts, TM Tambayan, or Globe Broadband's World at Home. No? So as mentioned, in the next slide, we don't just partner with OTT players, but we also create our own content to fit better to the local taste. No? So I heard earlier hybridization. I like the term. No? So we took Korean content and created actually customized content to really center on what our customer base are aiming for. For example, they wanted to learn how to cook those Korean recipes. That's the typical behavior. No? You watch K-drama, after a while you want ramyeon. No? So we taught them that. They wanted to learn how to speak in Korean, so we created K-Talk series. They wanted to dance the K-idol moves, so we did K-moves as well. Even beauty with K-looks, and created even podcasts also to cater to that evolving need. Next slide. And because we are a telco, we super serve our customers with digital enablement via the customized mobile data packs that we created. So we call it Go Korean SKU. Now that allows our customers to discover free or premium content subscriptions. This is really to encourage them to consume this quality content that was really invested in by our Korean counterparts, no, and consume it the legitimate way. We are a big advocate of anti-piracy. And we have our Play It Right program that advocates this to complete the circle of happiness, to protect not just the intellectual property, but really the equity and the investments of our global content partners. It's really putting a lot of resources to create quality content. And last but not the least, to educate everyone against the peril of piracy that comes to you if you're not really watching. No, so last but not the least, in the last slide, we will show you, this is the, in a nutshell, our K-Suite customer propositions to enable the digital lifestyle of the Hallyu fan. I hope that's clear to everyone. Any questions, I'll be happy to take it on later. Back to you, Wena.
Very much na-excite ako at bigla ko tuloy gustong kumain ulit ng ramyun. Naipaalala niyo po. Anyway, okay, we'll have our next panelist from Apop. Let's hear from Mr. Agno Almario. Sir?
Okay, hi everyone. Okay, so I'm Agno Almario, no? I'm Vice President at Adarna House, no? But I'm also head of our newest publishing imprint, Apop Books. So Apop Books, as Ms. Wena said earlier, no, is a publishing imprint that focuses on translating Korean bestsellers into English. No, I want to introduce us by starting with a short introduction. No, because honestly, I feel like I'm a bit of an unlikely candidate for the position I'm in, because I come from a family of Filipino publishers, no? In fact, we're known as one of the pioneers of the Filipino children's publishing industry. We built, we were built, no, on the premise that there should be one. There should be a publishing house for our own local Filipino stories. And for the past 40 years, that's what we've been doing. So that's Adarna House. Aside from that, no, I'm also a technology entrepreneur, no. Our company, Buri Technologies, no, we build e-learning technologies and experiences for institutions that want to create a unique e-learning experiences for their employees. So in both cases, no, uh, you could say that my encounter with Korean culture, well, it didn't really come naturally. In fact, it was pure contingency, no? Around 2 years ago, I was invited to Korea to an ASEAN book publishers fair to mingle, no, with the local industry there and our ASEAN peers. And in that event, no, I was also, no, tasked to talk about our local publishing industry. And while I was in Korea, no, I saw many things, no, most of which I honestly felt that I already knew. How vibrant the book culture was, how beautiful the bookstores and their libraries are, how supportive their country is of creative industries. The things you would expect from an economy and a tradition as developed as Korea. But there were also things, no, some of which I honestly didn't expect. There was this genre of books called illustrated essays, no. And when I asked my Korean counterparts there to describe the content of this genre, they said that, well, the closest comparison was self-help, but not exactly. The way they explained it was, this is a genre that had books that inspire, books that help you feel good, books that comfort you. I didn't really get it at first, no. Then there was this book that they showed me that exemplified it. It's called I Decided to Live as Me. You know, when we usually look at self-help books, no, we usually think of the Western pattern of self-help books that have this list of the top 10 perfect things that you have to follow to be the best person you can be. But this book, it was different, no? It didn't want to scold you. It wanted to embrace you. It didn't want to tell you to be perfect. It wanted you to be proud of who you are. The book was like a big sister you never had, no? Consoling you, talking to you, sharing with you the ins and outs of adult life. Immediately, upon seeing this, I thought it was something different. It was a genre rooted in our Asian consciousness, no? So I asked them, can I read the English version? And to my surprise, no, wala pa, no? There wasn't an English version. And yet, when it was shown to me, they told me that this book was already being published internationally. You know, everybody, no, to my surprise, no, everybody but us Anglo-centric members of the ASEAN had already been trading this title. It already had translations in Thai, in Japanese, in Indonesia. It was already in Vietnam. It was already in Taiwan, no? And not only that, no, it was a resounding commercial success in each country, with more than 1 million sold worldwide, no? And at least 100,000 in each country it was translated in. In fact, in Japan, this is the best-selling Korean book translated into Japanese ever. So I was so surprised na walang English, no? There was no English translation. Because usually, us, when we think bestseller, we immediately look to the West. At that point, the entrepreneur in me couldn't resist, no? I don't see things like this as a coincidence. In fact, I think it's no coincidence that we've fallen in love with stories in K dramas and movies. It's no mistake that the musings of K pop allure us, no? These themes, they resonate with us. We can relate with them because we're from the same side of the world. So I said to myself, we need to start something with this. I need to showcase to our English speaking reader base what our ASEAN peers already knew. Instead of bringing stories from the West, I wanted to create a publishing imprint that was to showcase stories from Asia, no? I want to show the literature from the languages that we take for granted. And this is how Apop was born. This is how we started selling our first book, no, 8 months ago during the pandemic when no bookstores were open, no, and still we were able to sell a record-breaking 20,000 copies sold, no, for our first title. This is how I entered the world of Korean pop culture and why I'm in this talk right now. This is why I'm helping bring Korean literature to the English speaking world, no? Now we have 6 titles. And there you go. That's my story. That's a pop story. And moving forward, no, I really want to help turn our local industry into a hub of translating strong titles from Korea into English. There you go. Thank you for listening.
Di ako na-inspire na sana after English maging Filipino naman yung mga translations. I think yan ang aabangan din natin in the future. Maraming salamat po, Sir Agno. We hope to hear more from you later. Up next, actually, ito naman yung hopefully mas may marinig din tayo, no? Kanina mas yung industries na directly talaga na connected to Korean culture. This one naman is at least in the Philippine side, we're very honored to have somebody from the Korean Cultural Center of the Philippines. Puro Korean. Pinaka-popular na yata na letter sa buong alphabet yung K, no? Yan. Kaya minsan, kailangan natin mag-shift to yan. Filipino naman ito. I-welcome natin sa kanyang presentasyon si Ginoong Joshua Chan ng CCP. Joshua?
Hello ma'am, good afternoon. So totoo po no, yung binanggit ni Ma'am Wena na the Cultural Center of the Philippines have this project called Kanto Kultura, which is particularly inspired by the K-pop culture. So first, let me present to you our teaser, what we posted earlier this year. Allow me to share screen this music video for a while. Ayan. This video is titled Yamang Talento, which CCP believes that aside from the Philippines is rich from its natural resources, we are also rich in our own individual talents. That's why this Kanto Kultura or this video promotes and encourage our community, our Filipino community to participate in this competition. So Kanto Kultura was happened or was produced this earlier this year. This is a celebration. This is a celebration of culture and the arts through our very own Filipino artists. It is a brainchild of the CCP Board of Trustees with the support of the CCP Office of the President. This new project seeks to encourage Filipino talents to create artistic content that showcases innovation and creativity. It also aims to provide an avenue for different forms of artistic expression such as music, broadcast and film, literature, theater, dance, and visual art. So these are the main artistic expression under the CCP, under Cultural Center of the Philippines. So now we are particularly on Kanto Kanta, which is for music. So Kanto Kultura series begins with an online band competition called Kanto Kanta, in which the said event and its mechanics were released February 15, 2021. Kanto Kanta showcases original Filipino musical works, new songs, new music that incorporates traditional musical instruments in order to create a Pinoy sound. So this is what we aim for Kanto Kultura. Let me share another video for you. Okay, we are having some. Okay, I think I have to proceed with another. Here you go. All right, so that's the video, our launching video for Kanto Kultura, which we aim for tuklasin, arugain, at ipagdiwang. We have to celebrate our artistic expression. So with Kanto Kultura, we had our first ever present. All right. Okay, it is headed by our one of our board of trustees, my Miss Michelle Nikihunya, together with Sir Stanley Celudo. So they are the board of trustees of CCP, and then this online band competition was open last February. So Kanto Kanta hopes to discover the Pinoy sound that can establish the Filipino identity in the competitive global market online. It somehow serves as a stepping stone in finding what can eventually match the Korean pop phenomena. With the cancellation of live performances in this period of the pandemic, the project provides opportunities to amateur talents, unsigned artists, and the like. The project aims to discover competitive arts content in the highly competitive digital space. So the online band competition is open to natural-born Filipinos who currently reside in the Philippines, 18 years old and above, and with no existing professional and commercial entertainment contracts. All finalists will be posted, recognized, and featured by the Kanto Kultura under the CCP or Cultural Center of the Philippines. So we have here our omnibus poster where we highly encourage the students or the Filipino community to use the Philippine language as its main source or the composition of the music. And to use, of course, the Filipino indigenous instrument in our country. And then also, all of the performances can be just recorded through a cell phone or through any device that can record in their home. And of course, it must feature a canto or a location in anywhere that near in their place. And then our grand winner will have a 50,000 cash together with an exclusive recording and management contract from a music industry or music from the music industry. And then the submission was opened last February 20 and ended last April 30, 2021. And we will have a announcement of winners this coming Wednesday, June 30. So I am inviting everyone in this live stream to support our Filipino artists, music artists. So that's it. That's Kanto Kultura. And to end my presentation, let me just share to you another video, the last video that showcases the video or the product of Kanto Kanta in particular. Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
Maraming salamat din, Joshua. 5 days to go, no? Mag-a-announce na kayo ng unang winners nyo. Nakaka-excite bilang isang estudyante din ng Araling Pilipino. Nakakatuwa ang mga efforts na ito. Okay, maraming salamat sa ating tatlong panelists for giving us a glimpse, no? For sure, marami ng, actually may mga pumapasok na ring mga tanong tungkol sa mga nabanggit na, those that have been presented already, no, ng ating panelists about themselves and their efforts in their fields, no? Hopefully, as we discuss further, we're welcoming more questions from you. Just huwag kayong mahiya, i-type nyo lang dyan and hopefully we can read them later. Okay, let's go now to our discussion. First, we'll have a contextualization. Let's see the context first of at least the situation. No? Nabanggit na kanina ng ating mga panelists how they have also started, but probably we can answer further these questions. How is the general situation of your industry after the COVID-19 pandemic? ano ba yung mga challenges po natin and remarkable achievements ng ating organization. Also, we'd like to know, since we are in different fields, one in publishing, one in telecommunication, and also one from government, what do you think yung pong, how was Korean culture studied and examined by your organization? And how do you think, why do you think Korean culture clicked here? Actually, lagi itong nababanggit sa mga forum. Bakit ba, bakit ba sobrang ano, kung ano nga, may term, no, hayok, naging hayok, mga Filipino into Korean, hindi na lang basta interesado, tumataas yung level. Okay, what are the factors that you see, at least related in your industries? And was there any particular reason that you eyed on Korean culture and adapted it into your cultural products? Lastly, if you may also mention, if you have mentioned earlier, you can further talk about it probably, no? How you would assess your audience or client's response so far when it comes to your venture in your industries. Ayan po, sige po. We'll go from Miss Jill and then to Mr. Agno and then to Mr. Joshua. Okay lang po ba yan? Sige po, Miss Jill, can we hear from you?
Sure. So, do we choose your question?
Opo, pwede po. Opo, pwede rin pong lahat. Okay lang po. So basically,
Okay.
kumusta po kayo at yung inyong efforts at ang connection ng inyong mga ginagawa ngayon sa Korean culture at sa
I'll
inyong
take the top two questions kasi nakatahi siya. No? So,
Okay po.
I think being in telco, we're luckier than most, right? Over the pandemic, but we have been hit regardless. But luckier in a sense that the demand for going to digital in terms of online transactions and enablement are really ballooned overnight. No? So, but there are challenges, of course, because with the increased consumption, we had to double down in terms of how we really help enable connectivity, with stable and fast speed, and also make sure that we're at par in terms of the expectations. But I guess operationally, hindi kami masyado nahirapan because we've been transitioning to online for a few years now. Matagal nang bawal mag-print sa amin. We're trying to become paperless. Digital tools are prevalent. But that's as far as operations are concerned. No? But from a customer lens naman, that's where the struggle is because servicing them needs really handholding so that they can really try to reinvent the lost opportunities because of faceless, nawalang face-to-face transactions. And I think that's where the Korean culture is very prevalent in terms of, let's say, doubled consumption. Several contexts. One obviously is the entertainment context. No? So you really see them consuming so much content, maybe as a form of an escape. Like for example, today is Friday. I'm looking forward to finally sitting down and catching up on the episodes that I've lost. No? It's a way for us to really escape and really just relax from a full week of Zooms. No? So it's all about reinvention, I guess. So Globe is very proud to helping a lot of our customers achieve how they reinvented their lifestyle to go to digital. Now, second, very good question. I really like that. How did we as an organization actually take a look at Korean culture in general? No, so as mentioned in Globe, we don't just take a look at, let's say, K culture from an entertainment lens, no, but we were really amazed when we dug deep what is really behind this Korean craze or Hallyu, no. We were very surprised, and Doc Eric was actually one of the people who opened our eyes as an organization. There was pala a methodical strategy behind everything in terms of culture importation, no. So parang we wanted to learn that primarily because we wanted to rally even the organization to take a look at the insights and how do we apply it on a corporate lens. But really, out of corporate social responsibility, we think we can really mine that whole thinking and parang very focused attempt, diba, in terms of how we can really create change or really take a look at, let's say, the rich Filipino culture, like just what Joshua was sharing kanina, no, and Agno, very, very rich in terms of how you apply the learnings and what's our role as a telco to make that come alive. No? So with that came about all of the initiatives that we have, no, to embrace everything that's K culture, but don't lose the sight that how about glocalization from a Pinoy perspective, no? Sobrang relevant. So we take pride in hoping to be able to stitch that together.
Thank you, Miss Jill. Yeah, let's hear from Sir Agno.
For us naman, let's start with the COVID question. No? I think for our industry in general, sobrang niyang hirap. I mean, as you can imagine, no, the book publishing industry, we like to keep it manual, diba? With all the paper, no. Pero I guess as a company, we were lucky enough na we made early investments in e-commerce, in our digital platforms, including in disseminating digital content. And during the crisis, during this continuing crisis, yun talaga yung nakatulong sa amin, no? The fact that we made inroads early allowed us a head start, no? It even gave us this opportunity to build a brand from scratch during the pandemic, a purely online play, no? So, pagdating naman dun sa pangalawang mong tanong, yung bakit kaya hayok na hayok sila sa Korean culture. No, tulad nung sinabi ko, no, sa akin, hindi kasing aral yung approach namin no Globe, no. Kung naalala mo dun sa kwento ko kanina, na intuition siya, parang nung kinikwento sa akin, naramdaman ko na, ay, kailangan natin to. Magugustuhan to ng mga nagbabasa sa Pilipinas. Magugustuhan to ng mga 18 to 25 na babae na hinahanap nila yung sarili nila, no? At hindi rin masama na binabasa siya ng mga idols sila. So, ipag-connecta mo lang yung dalawa na yun. Ipag-connecta mo yung fact na nagre-resonate yung content. And you have a strong parang cultural push from Korea to promote their products. Then I think you have a winning formula there. Tapos yun, pagdating dun sa pangatlong tanong mo, yung ano naman yung response ng customers mo, tingin mo, or readers namin. Grabe, sobra nilang saya. Natutuwa sila kasi, sige, bibili nila dahil kay recommendation ng idol. Pero pag nabasa na nila, dun sila mamumula, dun sila mako-convert. Nakikita namin na binibili nila yung bawat release namin, nag-share sila ng feelings sila towards the release, no? Talagang nag-create sila ng community and nag-uusap sila about the topics of the book. So there you go.
Thank you, Sir Agno. Actually, yan, may kopya din ako. Connect na connect. Consumer po. Hindi po ako moderator dito, consumer. Okay, of course, let's hear also from Joshua. No? Kamusta naman?
Yeah.
Ang hirap din mag-organize sa panahon ngayon.
Yes po. Particularly by our industry, we're really affected by the COVID pandemic. For an instant, the theater performances or live events in CCP held physically in CCP were hugely affected. So that's why we shifted every event that we do on ground. We shifted it via online or in the digital platform. So first we have Virgin Lab Fest. So these are original plays done by Filipino playwrights. And we staged it last year in a digital platform. We struggled to be able to push it even though that happened. So we are really clueless on if it's really called theater pa ba or ano pa ba yung tawag dito, film na ba to or short, something like that. But on our part, we did our best on giving our audiences the best that we can or the performance that we can give them. And then of course, we also established or produced Sining Sigla. It is a project by the CCP president Arsenio Niclizazo. It is online events. So we have this touring play in different local governments, which is titled Pagbabalik Tanaw sa Unang Hari ng Balagtasan. So this is from Jose Corazon de Jesus biography and his works. and we shifted that. We what's the term that we are using is stage to shoot. So we are staging it, and we use, of course, cameras, lenses, and then we produce it, or we show it via online on Facebook or YouTube. And then on the part naman po siguro nung Korean culture, this is why Kultura, or Kanto Kanta in particular, was produced, because we believe that the culture, or the Korean culture, is highly influential, not just in today's generation, but even before, as what Ma'am Go and Sir Agop mentioned earlier in their presentation. It is really influential, but not just in mass media, but also in our daily lives. So we thought that in uh, putting the culture, or kasi nawawala na sa atin yung paggamit ng indigenous instruments, ganyan. So kanto kanta kasi is not new. I mean, music competition, or music writing competition is not new. We have ABS-CBN doing other things, something to that extent. And what we did is we want something that will give us, or our listeners, new, which is yung paggamit ng indigenous instrument, and of course to use any Filipino language. So we have a huge, sabi nga ni Ma'am, diba, tagakal po tayo. We promoted our languages, diba, in using those specific in the music composition. And then on the response, we had around 45 videos in a span of 2 months, 1 to 2 months. We had 45 from Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. And we think that is a successful first project that we did under Kanto Kultura. So we are hoping to provide more avenues, such as for film, which is Kanto Pelikula. We also have Kanto Indak, which will be for dance, and which will be video, or which will be produced in somewhere near your place. Ganun lang po. Ayan.
Yun. Saya, exciting. Okay, ngayon, actually, nakikita natatempt na akong dumiretso dun sa mga tanong sa comment section. Kasi,
pwede tayong mag-tie up, Joshua.
Wow.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Mga partnership na nagaganap. Okay, sige po. Bago tayo tumuloy dyan sa ating mga tanong and mga possible na partnerships, let's go into naman yung mismong topic natin, yung glocalization actually, and in our sense, no, localization, ang daming mga heavy terms dito, hybridization at innovation. So is it Korean, is it Filipino, is it a mix, is it yung mga ganitong tanong, ano bang pine-present talaga natin, yung sarili natin, or nagre-recreate tayo, yung mga ganito po, in the process, anong nangyayari sa mga efforts natin na kino-consume ng ating mga kapwa Pilipino, no? So specifically here are the questions. How do you see Korean culture localized or developed into a form of hybridity in the Philippines? You can mention any other industries or sectors you have observed locally aside from your own. Do you think, number 2, do you think there's any strategic planning by Filipino brands, or particularly kayo din po, no, firms or government agencies when they look into foreign countries, cultural industries, in particular yung sa Korea, no po? Also, what do you witness, or what do you observe dun po sa process ng pag-adapt ng Korean culture sa, actually, ang daming ngayon, itong recent din, no, nagiging maingay din talaga sa social media kasi iba-iba. So of course, we're not into promoting particular brands here in UPKRC, no, but we're here for a discussion talaga of what's really trending and what's really being discussed in a daily basis, no, tungkol sa Korean culture that we see in many products across all areas in our life, everyday life, no. And so yun, paano po yung adaptation na nakikita natin na ginagawa? Siguro yung kay Joshua sa Filipino side tayo, no, pero ano yung natututunan natin siguro sa anong part ng Korean culture yung particular na nagagamit natin. And lastly, in this process, do you see any innovation that two cultures merge and synergize in the local creative industry? Of course, if you have mentioned already yung iba sa sagot dito, pwede po siguro tayo magdagdag kung meron pang hindi pa nababanggit. Sige po, we'll go the same the same order. Miss Jill?
Okay. So I like your question in terms of, again, strategic planning of Filipino brands, no, or even the government agencies, and I'm very happy that there's actually a UP Korean Research Center that exists. We didn't know that there was such an organization before, and also kanina our speaker, one of our Korean culture, also KCC, no, so with these institutions presence in the Philippines, diba, and really rallying it from different parts of the ecosystem. It's a testament that I think there's staying power in terms of Korean culture talaga. No? So even UP is paying notice. So I guess Globe obviously embraces it because of the fantastic way that it has come about. No? But I think not just us, but the industry has taken notice to and has the same level of respect in terms of, let's say, the entertainment industry and how the Koreans actually do it best. No? So there's this distinct 360-degree business model that they're taking a look at to really mine all the opportunities in the content creation space. And that's really amazing to watch. And out of that, nadala niya yung buong culture, di ba? So, in a narrative, for example, or a non-narrative program, kitang-kita mo yung lumalabas sa pores ng actors, di ba? The culture importation really, and then conversations happen out of that sharing of content, and of course, communities arise, no, from that. And with that, umiikot yung commerce. So it's a really, really very good 360-degree use case. And again, we think the creative industry is one, and some form of, let's say, you're asking about localization. So SB19, they started out as, I guess, modeling it from the K-idol groups, but they are trusted brand ambassador of Globe. Diba? There are talents, and we can see they can come up with very unique SB19 kind of material, diba? That's no longer modeled after the K-pop, but it's their signature, diba? So parang you can see it started out maybe as okay, gayahin ko yon, but actually they're injecting their own locality, no? So it gives you hope that like the CCP and Agno, diba? Localization really is still king. Local over local can be had if we really just take a look at it very closely.
Correct.
Thank you, Miss Jill. Sir Agno, can we hear from you?
Okay, for me naman, I honestly don't think, in our industry in particular, I haven't really observed parang any form of hybridization, no? However, I'm interested in, as the webtoon genre progresses, no, I think more and more Filipino creators will begin uploading and creating there. I think that in particular has a future in our industry, no. As for the other questions, no, I'm not sure really how. I'm not sure really if I'm qualified to speak on how it affects our culture, no. But my hope for what I'm doing, no, in how it affects the general business context of our creative industries is that what we see from these Korean titles, these unapologetically Korean titles, is that it is possible to create an export-based creative industry that is extremely locally nuanced. And it's possible to mix both being a highly produced product, no, a well-designed, highly produced product that is also sellable and marketable, no. Ang galing nila eh, napapag-mix sila yung pareho eh. And it translates beyond their language, no. Again, no, unapologetically Korean, pero pag sinalin nila sa Thai, sa Hapon, pumapasok pa rin. Hayok na hayok pa rin yung mga tao. Tumatagos pa rin. So, yun. Sana, no, moving forward, as these titles come to our shores, no, as we bring in more, my hope is the general creative industry improves because of it. Pwede pala to. Posible pala to.
Kapag nagsasalda si Sir Agno, parang gusto ko maniwala sa lahat ng pangarap. Hindi na para sa sarili niya, kundi para sa Pilipinas. Diba nakaka-inspire? Anyway, let's also hear from Joshua. Kamusta
Ayan
naman
po.
sa ating
For CCP, I think I would like to expound or to give more details din sa nabanggit ni Ma'am Go, particularly on SB19. I think SB19 is really one of the groups here in the country na nag-localize talaga ng tinatawag na K, or in particular sa K-pop culture, ano, or dun sa K-pop groups, ganyan. But they have their own Filipino identity that showcases not just in the here in our country, but also transcends to other nearby countries. And that is why I think they were also nominated as part of the, I think, Billboard Music Awards. I think they're one of the nominated groups. And then they were also being trained by a Korean superstar company. So I think, with even though they have the influence of Korean, they are giving it parang sariling touch, ano, sariling Filipino touch. And I think yun yung kagandahan po nung SB19, which produced, I think, Easy Meal. Easy Meal, or the rapper, I think we heard that he used Cebu, he rapped that the he used the language of Cebuano in producing his own identity as an artist. And with that, that's what we are aiming to do in Kanto Kultura. We produce bands not just the usual hugots, ganyan, for the usual pag-ibig, kanta, sa bayan, ganyan. But we want to use indigenous instruments that can give siguro another layer to what we are giving in the world, in the 'di ba? Parang kasi usually ang sinasabi lang is we're great in Miss Universe, we're great in pagbirit, ganyan. But we also have different talents, especially in music composition. And I am very honored to be part of CCP Canto Cultura, which will at some point showcases, or tawag dito, which starts up the innovation, or the tawag dito, yung support ng government, no, sa ating mga local artists. Ayan po.
Maraming salamat. Grabe, ano rin talaga, sanga-sanga at connect-connecta yung mga nangyayari. Kaya, at natural siya, hindi pinipilit. So, yun din nakakatuwa na hindi lang siya basta Korean, Filipino, or Korean slash dash Filipino. Meron ding nakikreate minsan na isa pang new product that we present to the world. Very interesting. Okay, let's go to the last, at least, segment or set of questions, which is, yun, looking forward naman. Ano yung mga prospects natin? Okay. How do you expect Korean culture consumption in the Philippines continue to be affected in the future? Nakatuwa lang, may nagtanong sa akin minsan, no, in 10 years ba may Korean drama pa? After 10 years ako tinanong nun in 10 years, ito pa rin. Mas boom pa rin siya. So yung mga ganitong tanong medyo common, pero at least particularly sa mga ginagawa niyo po, gaano ka tagal pa kaya yung itatakbo ng ganitong phenomenon, or at least ng ganitong efforts natin. Number 2, what particular cultural industry do you expect to develop at in terms of tastes? Yung ina-acquire nating taste din in Korean culture, and as we bring them also into the localized form. Ano mga domains or products pa kaya yung mga explore natin na makakapag-bridge din ng cultures ng Filipino and Korean. Okay. And number 3, what is the role of your organization, do you think, para pang Miss Universe, what is the role of your organization in creating a balanced exchange? Yan. Siyempre, yun yung laging tanong parang how do we balance din naman things between Korea and the Philippines creative industries? Okay. Excited akong marinig ulit si Miss Jill.
Okay, kanina while listening to Joshua, I can't help but think also what the parallelism of what CCP is doing. I don't know whether people are aware, but we actually have Globe Live and Globe Studios. No, we started in terms of content creation about 5 years ago, but last year, we are very proud to actually have a sub-label with the partnership with 88 Rising. So we launched Paradise Rising, and one of our we actually launched already a couple of artists, including Ilona, Guapdad. Yeah, no? So parang again, I think Hallyu is bringing left, front, and center the awareness in terms of cultural diversity, diba? And they can be world class. So find Korean is a headline, right? But so were the other Asian genres, including Filipino, what's this content moving forward. So we're really hopeful that that awareness will actually halo to other Asian cultures, including Pinoy. In terms of, let's say, what other industries would probably what's this benefit from the halo, not just entertainment, but I really think publishing, according to Agno, di ba? So para in terms of, let's say, the digital shift, it has happened. So lucky are those who really invested early on. But the platforms driven by technology will really change the behavior of the public, how they consume literary content. No? So we see it already now in terms of, let's say, Wattpad, all the web novels that are actually coming out there. In terms of, let's say, community engagement, we've seen VLive flourish, we've seen Weverse flourish in terms of, let's say, all this online entertainment scene. And with a consolidation of, let's say, companies, it can only make them stronger. So Naver, Kakao, those are just some of the tech companies that are really making it big, not just local in Korea, but worldwide. So I think if you're paying notice, di ba? Kumu is also already actually starting to make ground, cover good ground today. Now, so technology will really shape a lot of, let's say, content consumption and also goods consumption because of e-commerce. Now, the role that we play is very obvious, being a technology company. No? So again, it's the awareness. It's I guess making it value for money and market right in terms of pricing. Also in terms of how we will actually advocate intellectual property. That's a huge responsibility. Someone has to do it. And I think I'm happy to note that the level of piracy has gone down because we're actually killing pirated sites. There's a process that needs to be done for that one. So upholding intellectual property is really key with the help of, let's say, all the government institutions and private corporations such as ourselves. Yeah, so hopefully we can do a globe of good all around.
Okay, sige po. Can we hear from Sir Agno?
Natuwa ako dun sa una mong tanong yung 10 years from now di ba? But to be honest, if you, I guess, to try to do a historical analysis, no, just look at parang the rate at which their creative industries have improved over time, no? Yung mga pinapanood natin ngayon, papunta dun sa mga pinoproduce nila ngayon, no? If you do not see the upward trend there, no? Parang, ewan ko na, no? Parang patagal ng patagal, pagaling sila ng pagaling, at pagaling sila ng pagaling at an exponential rate, no? So,
Correct.
I definitely think na they will stay, no? Tapos I also found that last question interesting, no? What is your role in creating a balanced exchange, no? Fundamentally, no, the business transaction that I'm part of is really based on trust, no? And my hope is, again, no, as we acquire more titles from them, from the Korean publishers, as we sell them here, as we prove that we have the ability to commercialize their titles here, sana, no, eventually, when I start sending them our stories there, they build on that trust, no? They look at me and say na, ay, alam nila ko anong ginagawa nila, siguro mabenta rin to. Yun ang isa kong inaasam din, na ma-reverse ko yung transaction, no? Na pag napatunayan ko na yung sarili ko dito, sana tingnan din nila yung sining natin.
Yes.
Thank you, thank you.
We support that, sir.
Sige, Joshua, tuloy mo na.
Actually, I think particularly dun sa una pong question na kung ano yung ine-expect sa Korean culture, you know, I think dun pa lang sa pag-recognize ng particularly ng Oscars sa Korean films, you know, like yung Parasite, and we also had our first Asian Best Supporting Actress from Minari. I think those are yun yung mga nabanggit din ni Sir Ago kanina na nag-excel na talaga sila, nandun na sila. So, and I think us being Filipinos, parang kayang-kaya natin. We are actually at some sort nandun tayo sa level na yun. But I think personally, what we are lacking is really the support from our institutions. I think that's why we are here together, to reflect and what can we bring to the table, because we already have different talents in our country, and I think Filipinos can deliver talaga kung ano yung hinihingi sa atin. And siguro paunti-unti nandun naman na tayo. I'm not saying that we're not there, but we can give more to our to other countries. Ayan. And then hopefully din, syempre nawala ng pandemic noon para makabalik din po kami sa live performances and then sa theater, ano. So siguro doon sa balance between the exchange between Korea and the Philippines, I think our responsibility is to look at the support nga or binibigay na support ng Korean government to their artists. And kasi nasa arts and culture kami, for us to give it yung support namin to our local artists. And I think this Kanto Kultura is a big start po talaga with localization ng ating mga artists, ganyan. And hopefully sa mga susunod pa po ay may mga projects din, no, na mag-i-innovate ng artistry sa ating bansa. Ayun po.
Maraming salamat po. Grabe, yung effect lang niya sobrang nakaka-excite kasi there's so much happening already. Pero what we can look forward in the future, no, sa telecommunication, sa publishing, sa sarili nating cultural industry din, no, na tama ka, Josh, part ako ng ABS-CBN actually, na doon ako nag-work. And hindi lang kasi talaga media, iba din kapag government yung nag-i-initiate. Kasi yung representation, iba yung stand. So, anyway, alam ko na nandito ako para magbasa ng mga actually. So, ang dami actually mga may mga nagko-congratulate po sa atin, sa CCP, kay Miss Go, sa marami po tayong mapapansin na mga comments, no, kay Sir Agno,
Okay,
na more
ma'am.
particular, oo nga eh. So anyway, pero before siguro if we have time, I can read in particular those at least mga compliments sa atin. Pero siguro mas maganda diretso tayo doon sa mga tanong kasi yun yung inaabangan nilang masagot. Ayan. Let's take it first from Sir Aldrin Lee. So, can you cite specific instances when you had to consciously adapt and implement a local strategy for your product, merchant, or activity or campaign? Actually, some of them you've mentioned na. Pero it's not just kasi din projected. I think, no, when we're making, it's not really just projected here in the Philippines, but also local, so slash. So kaya din siya local. So ano pa po yung bukod sa mga nabanggit nyo na, what else would you say na consciously kailangan ninyong gawin para ma-present itong mga products natin globally? Yan. Sige, baliktad naman tayo. Start tayo kay Josh. Pabalik.
Ayan, okay po.
Kung mag-volunteer pala kung gusto ninyo.
Okay po. I think on Kanto Kultura, what we did po talaga is yun nga yung pag-innovate, pag-add nung layer ng indigenous instruments. And I think what we need first is the foundation of this project na ma-appreciate siya ng mga kapwa natin Pilipino, other Filipino artists as well, bago siya mag-transcend sa iba't ibang bansa. So ayun po yung sa tingin kong parang strategy ngayon ng CCP is to promote it from within, from its area. And then, at some point, ito po yung ihahatid natin sa iba't ibang bansa.
Thank you, Josh. Ms. Jill or Sir Agno? Sino pong gustong mag-comment about?
For local strategy, maybe I can highlight our partnership with Paradise Rising, our label, wherein we are highlighting two of the Filipino artists. So Ilona, True Blue, right, and Guapdad, which is Filipino American. So please support that. This is going to be the rise of Philippine fandom, fit for the world stage talaga. At marami pang iba, abangan.
Thank you po, Ms. Jill. Sir Agno? Ay,
Yeah, wala naman actually in particular actually hindi namin to talaga hindi ko siya iniisip in this light, no. When we sell our titles in Apop, it's just simply harnessing yung ganda ng content itself. But not really yung parang global/local nuance.
Okay. Pero since English na siya actually, nandun na po yung potential na syempre, no, ma-access siya ng marami. Yes po, Ma'am Jill, meron po kayo.
I forgot to plug. Okay, so we're the proud. Globe Studios is very proud to be the producer of the first Filipino Netflix original, Dead Kids. No, so
Wow.
you also see a lot of our products in Netflix. Fangirl, which won 8 out of the 10 Metro Manila Film Fest. It's a co-production by Globe Studios. It's already on Netflix too. So I think that's very good testament that our content really travels fit for Netflix as a platform.
Yes. Okay po. Thank you. Ito pong sunod na question from A Good Day to Be Cat. I hope it's a good day for you. Thank you for coming here with us. Actually, particularly kay Miss Jill naka-address yung question. At ito yung isa din na madalas kong naririnig kapag ang pinag-uusapan ay isang telecommunications company. Hindi siya maiwasang matanong. But hopefully, masagot natin ngayong hapon. So from A Good Day to Be Cat, good afternoon from Miss Jill. What is your priority utilizing K-Culture to your promotion or quality of your service? Which pinalo up niya with the question on K-Ambassador. So meron bang tinatawag talagang priority or nangyayari na lang talaga siya at hindi naman nag-equate ito talaga sa quality of service? Pakita natin si Miss Jill.
Thank you for your question, Kat. And as a consumer, I'm also a Globe customer. I feel you, right? So, lalo na ngayon, pag nawalan ka ng internet, parang nawalan ka na rin ng kuryente at tubig, di ba? So, with that, we take it very seriously in terms of our responsibility to provide very good quality of service. So, it's not about all the fancy marketing. If there's no substance to the service, aanuhin mo yung marketing mo, no? So, it's a balance. We definitely make sure that the quality of service is there. That's why we don't publicly announce it, but Globe actually has the highest capex to revenue ratio in terms of putting an investment to the network to make sure that our infrastructure is sound. No, it's just that very publicly our CEO made it known. No, like Korean content, they became very successful with the support of the government. We need that too as a telecommunications industry. No, so parang paano kayo magtatayo ng towers, right? If the LGU gives us 18 months for permitting and 25 permits, no? But very happily, President Duterte cut a lot of that clutter, no? So we were actually able to produce a lot of, let's say, the backlogs last year because we really badly need rollout. The money is there in terms of investment. And to your point, it's very obvious our priority is quality of service more than fancy marketing. It's always a balance.
Thank you po. Medyo napipressure ako kung anong uunahin ko sa mga tanong. Pero kay Sir Agno naman po, thank you Miss Jill. Actually, isang complex siya na tanong. So hindi para sa akin din kung ako nasa lugar ng company, no? Of course, we're into promotions and marketing, but hindi naman, syempre, kung priority yung pag-uusapan, mahalaga yung service. Hindi yan nakakalimutan ng ating mga kumpanya. So Miss Kat, sana at sa mga iba pang nag-iisip ng tanong na ito, nasagot ito ngayong hapon. Okay, at dako naman tayo dun sa mga tanong actually pagdudugtungin ko, no, yung tanong kay Sir Agno, kasi ang dami actually ako yung una nag-post ng question, na sinigundahan ni Sir kapwa ko Filipino teacher, Professor Ron Laranjo, yung interest into translating this advanced mag-isip. No? Mga translator din kasi kami. So, malamang nasa isip talaga namin yung meron bang pag-asa na very soon matranslate ito sa Filipino. Tapos, i-connect natin, susunod ko na agad din po yung tanong ni RV na yung tungkol sa pagkakaroon ng virtual meet and greet sa ating mga Filipino readers. Kasi Yun nga, kung nagagawa ito sa Globe, pumunta po ko ma'am pala sa community fan meet ni Kim Son Ho. Ayan. Kasi sobrang
Wow.
masaya yung mga iba po talaga din ang mga Filipino kapag sumuporta yung mga fans, no? Kaya nakakatuwa po yan. So balik po tayo. Again, no? Tama po ba? Yun lang ba? May follow-up pa siya. Ayan. At yung kung baka kapag-translate din ba tayo ng hindi lang basta mga marami na po nangangarap kasama niyo, Sir Agno, no? Para sa pagpi-Philippinize, pagkakaroon ng meet and greet, dami na naiisip para malamang naisip na rin itong mga to. At yung pagta-translate at pagpa-publish din ng mga hindi naman bestseller pero quality books from Korea. Sige po, Sir Agno.
Sige, simulan natin dun sa pagtasalin sa Filipino. Pagdating doon, para sa akin, hinahanap ko pa yung tamang libro. Kasi may pagkakaiba yung mga nagbabasa ng English sa Pilipinas saka yung nagbabasa ng Filipino. Parang iba yung dynamic ng market nila. Well, at least yun yung assessment ko as a publisher. So, hanggat hindi ko nahanap yung tamang libro na yun, yun yung inaantay ko. Pagdating naman dun sa event, na kung wala lang COVID, maniwala kayo sa akin. Yan ang ambisyon ko na makapagpadala ng isang illustrator or writer galing dun sa mga libro namin para mag-fan signing dito. At yung nagtanong si RV, I think nakikita kita dun sa community namin yung Apop land, no? So, oo, no? Yung huli mong tanong, meron ba kayong isasalin na hindi bestseller? Oo naman, at tawag dito, kasalukuyan, no? Ang challenge dito sa ginagawa namin sa Apop, first of its kind locally. So, binubuo pa namin yung competencies namin and yung team namin na mga nagsasalin. So, kasalukuyan, unti-unti namin, iniingat-ingat namin. Pero ang balak namin, no, pagpasok ng susunod na taon, no, and hopefully in the later part of the year, kaya na namin mag-publish ng isang title bawat buwan, no? And ang hope namin ipadamihin yon para hindi lang yung mga pinaka-batikan, yung mga pinaka-bestsellers, pati din yung mga ibang genre na explore din natin. So, abangan nyo yan. Dadating yan. Kailangan lang namin ng time.
Yun Sige, supportahan lang natin ng Apop. Mangyayari ang mga pinapangarap natin, hopefully. Okay. So, yung next question would pwede rin nating masagot siguro kahit si Joshua, you can pitch your insight, no? Aside from the benefits of localization of K-culture in the business sector, ano ba yung na-offer talaga nito to the Filipino society in general? So kasi nga, parang ang misconception madalas, parang ang nagbe-benefit Korea. So, nagbe-benefit ba talaga? Ano ba talaga yung nabibigay natin sa may mga nasabi na po kayo kanina, halimbawa, nabanggit na ni Sir Agno, no? Yung resonation kasi, hindi naman siya Korean lang, yung may Asian resonation. Si Miss Griselda, nabanggit niya yung mga iba't iba ding na natutulungan ng mga Filipino artists, Filipino groups, yung pag-establish ng community. No? Pero aside from this, ano po yung pwede nating masabi na ano ba talaga yung na-offer nito? Yung project kasi ng Kanto Kultura, Filipino talaga to. No? So, diretsong sa Filipino society yung effect or benefits na mabibigay natin. Pero aside from these, meron pa ba tayo madadagdag?
Siguro,
sorry. Go, sir.
Go.
Maikli lang po, sorry. I think kasi yung Filipinos in general are capable of getting things talaga from other cultures, ganyan. Tapos we mixed it and we particularized it in our country. And I think one din yung nabanggit ni Ma'am, yung Globe ay merong yung Globe Studios, they get the Thai BLs, the boy love stories, and then they localized it. And ngayon nandun na siya sa nasa market na natin siya. And we also have not just in Asia but Western. So ganun yung mix natin as Filipinos, and I think yun yung makakatulong po talaga sa atin. Yun yung benefits natin. Now we have the best of both worlds, no? Tapos na may mix natin siya. And then yun yung pinag-produce natin. Ganyan.
Sige po, Sir Agno. Gusto tayo i-share.
Actually, ganun din yung sagot ko. No? Bukod pa dun sa mga nauna kong sinabi, no? Ang binibigay talaga nito, lumalawak yung perspective natin. Dumadami yung mga paradigms na nakikita natin. Nakikita natin kung ano yung mga ginagawa ng mga kapatid natin na hindi natin naiintindihan yung wika, di ba? Kakaiba din yung nagagawa nun sa pananaw ng isang tao. Bukod doon, naiintindihan natin na in our region, merong particular, tulad nga ng sabi ni Miss Wen, may particular resonance kasi may particular nuance din na dito mo makikita. At nakakatuwa na nakita na parang may pagkakapare-pareho din.
I super agree. Parang Jeep, diba, that started off as casted away from the World War II and then it became reinvented by the Pinoys. I don't know how many from the audience watched 13, right? But from I guess Marvel Cinematic Universe, cross-sell si Park Seo-joon. Chismis, ma-Marvel siya, di ba? But I guess in terms of, let's say, how we have adapted the love for, I guess, toons, no? Cartoons, animation, ganyan. Agno mentioned webtoons, ang lakas sa Korea. For example, it's also already traveling over here. We see the traffic in our network for Naver, for example. 13 is one very good testament again to glocalization of our content. So I think it starts from the inspiration and we can take it from there. Ganun. Ultimately, I think Filipinos are very proud of their culture and talent is just everywhere. No? Walang shortage ng talent. Support lang talaga ng infrastructure kailangan.
Ma'am Wena, sorry, I have to add lang doon sa binanggit ni Ma'am Go. I think also part din yung sa animation. I think last year around December, naglabas yung Pixar nung first nito nung Filipino culture nung Pasko, ano? So that's a groundbreaking project from Pixar. And with that, the culture of Filipinos is hindi naliles. So pwede pa natin siyang nandun na tayo. So yun lang po.
Okay, thank you sa ating mga sagot. Okay, ito yung mahirap sa moderator. Gusto mong basahin lahat, pero tinitingnan mo rin yung oras. Kailangan natin i-balance yung oras. Okay, siguro yung iba, hindi natin ma-address in particular kasi yung wish list, siguro parang nagiging wish list yung iba. Sana po makita natin sa National Bookstore, 7-Eleven, SM stores. Yung ibang, sana po magkaroon ng K-drama style na mga na for films sa addressing globe, no? Sa Apop din, yung mga wish list natin. So I think nababasa po natin yan and hopefully note, masasabi lang po natin sa mga viewers natin ngayon, noted, #noted po. Yung mga sinasabi at wish list na sana mangyari pagdadala ng mga artists na ginagawa na pero hopefully ma-expand pa. Ayan. Pero aside from these, meron pang pumasok po yung mga phone-in question po tayo na isa ring mahalaga pa. Ayan, somebody asked, ayaw niya magpa-name eh. Pero mahalagang tao siya para sa ating lahat dito. Secret daw. Okay, anyway, gusto niya itanong how your company, for example, your publishing company, the Telecom, nabanggit na ni Ms. Go kanina yung mga challenges ng at least yung sa government side no ng Pilipinas. Pero how do you go about with partnering so further no with the Philippine government kasi nga you're in the private industry, of course ano naman on the other hand CCP Kanto Kultura, how are you partnering din no siguro para vice versa yung kumusta naman yung partnership baka pwede tayong manawagan din dito yamang mababalikan ng recording na to. So kung sakaling kailangan pa ng further intensified support whether financial or policy wise, what are you thinking na I think this is a good place no to air these concerns na hope natin since we see it in Korea na malakas yung support ng government sa cultural industries dito sa Pilipinas in your own fields din. Kumusta po? Ano po yung masasuggest natin? At ano na yung mga napagdaanan siguro pwede ma-share ng konti. Sige po, can we start with Miss Jill? Okay lang po ba?
It has been a process and last year was a milestone in terms of how we could see things turning better. No, so the industry is changing. There's a fourth telco, and I think competition is always good for the business to keep us on our toes, to provide better quality of service for everybody. No? So with that, we are partnering all the way from regulatory, right, all the way to the Malacanang, the local government support has also been changing. We have a lot of supporters. So I think if everybody is very loud in making noise in terms of what is needed, and the corporate backing is there for infusion of capital, and our seniors are all very supportive of, let's say, what needs to be done to uplift the lives of the Filipinos, it will be better. But we all have to be very loud in terms of what we need.
Thank you po, Ms. Chair. Sir Agno?
Uh, as Adarna House, no, since we publish Filipino materials there, ever since our inception, meron talagang support of the government, whether it be in the form of book purchases, of grants, no, of proactive policies. But yun nga, more can be done, no? And we just have to be vocal about it. On the other hand, si Apop naman, we do not really seek help from the Philippine government. In fact, we seek help from the Korean government, and they extend help na parang yung mga Hallyu units nila, they actually provide a support since we're helping promote or localize their creative industries. So that's something na our local government can learn from.
Okay. Josh?
I think sa aspect po ng government, this is just my personal take. This does not reflect, I think, the CCP per se. I think may kahirapan po talaga din na not to reach out, but I think nandun na kaya namang mag-reach out, but I think there are layers, merong bureaucratic talaga na kailangang pagdaanan in terms of partnership within a government and a private sector. But as far as I know, CCP has been coordinating with different platforms such as Kumu. I think previously sa Cinemalaya, there are other private sectors who are partnering with them, and those are for promotional purposes. I hope at some point, yun nga, nabanggit ni Ma'am Go yung parallelism ng Kanto Kultura with their projects. I think that can at some point unite us. And finally, diba, sa pag-innovate nitong Philippine culture. And may nabasa din ako actually sa comment section na we must learn not just in the private in the entertainment culture, but also in the heritage and preservation of heritage and culture of Korea. We must learn from them on that aspect too.
I'm sorry, ma'am. I wanted to interject the support of the Metro Manila mayors also over the last Metro Manila Film Fest. No, for the first time, they approved putting Metro Manila Film Fest online, no, via Upstream. That's one of our platforms in partnerships with the Monteverde. So we support Upstream, and this is a landmark because it continued the tradition of Metro Manila Film Fest over Christmas. So online is new, right? In terms of, let's say, relatively new, no, but that decision to put it in a platform of online is again another landmark to say that there's support there if we are just willing to put actually our joint resources to make it happen.
Thank you, Ms. Jill. Yan, madami tayong aabangan. Hopefully, no, na ma-materialize. Let's read then some very good comments from our viewers. One from Dr. Vilbar of UP Cebu. Listening to the hopes and facts of Sir Agno, the dreams with action of Joshua, and the wits, sinamarize na po niya yung we realize that this country has hope in terms of arts and culture. This is one of the best forums I've watched. Ang galing nyo. Ayan, salamat po talaga sa panelists natin. And also, shout out din kay Miss Gina Borinaga. I've met her actually when I was working in Korean Cultural Center. Hello po, Miss Gina from IBC 13. I hope Filipinos can learn from Korea with regards to preservation of heritage and culture, which nabanggit na ni Joshua. So, i-highlight lang natin. So, aside from being fans lang talaga, hopefully we learn from the preservation of culture. Yan. Sige po. Hopefully, kung may time pa later, in case sa mga parting comments ng ating panelist, we can add more kung meron pa tayong nakalimutan. But let's give way now sa ating, ano din, inaabangan ko din part na to. Yan, ang ating pag-synthesize nitong ating forum. At syempre, pagdagdag din ng insight mula kay Dr. Eric Capistrano. Let's all welcome our very own. He's a principal investigator, by the way, of UP Korea Research Center. Very hardworking, but still, but when he works hard. When he plays hard. Let's hear it, Sir Eric Capistrano.
Okay, so yeah, so good afternoon to everybody, and I hope, and I've also been looking at the comment section, and I'm very happy that our audiences have learned a lot from our panelists today. So my role this afternoon is try to give some justice to what they've said, and share some of the sentiments also of what some of the people like Dr. Vilbar, Dr. Au, hello, and as mentioned. So very quickly, no. So yeah, I'm going to position myself this afternoon as like what we call an ACA fan. I'm an academic and a fan as well, and so and I will be summarizing the session into 5 key lessons that we can draw from this forum today, and these are in terms of inspiration. And Ms. Jill mentioned something about this. We look at it also from point of view of inquisitiveness, ingenuity, innovation, and we've mentioned this a lot, and of course, lastly, inclusivity. We've been a society, we've been an audience wherein much of our consumption for Korean culture has been stemming from us being fans. And I like the comment from Miss Gina saying that we should also look at it on how we can preserve our heritage and our culture. And I'll be mentioning that in a little bit. So what do I mean now for each of these 5? So first of all, on inspiration. So, and Sir Agno and Sir Josh mentioned this about keeping an open mind on what is out there. Yes, there is more to Korean. There's more to Korean content than just K-pop and K-drama. And personally, I've been also asking my friends who are or in my circles to start watching Korean variety shows. So, and many of these Korean variety shows, like say, what's one of the most popular is Running Man, for instance. If you look a little bit closely on these kinds of shows, there's some showcase of these heritage and cultures, the backdrops, the locations in which they play are parts of their pop and traditional culture. So we keep an open mind on what's out there so that we can have a better understanding on what it is all about. Yeah. And then in keeping an open mind, we appreciate and absorb that creative content all the more. And we end up also always on the lookout for new things. Okay. Incidentally, like just last night, I've been chatting with the panel before we began. I'm still a little bit of a hangover when it because of Hospital Playlist Season 2, Episode 2 aired last night, and the way that they were executing scenes and themes in that drama, for instance, it's so much so that it helped me kind of like understand that there are many ways to creatively convey thoughts of love, of friendship, and all that. And the more that we delve into this, the more that we can understand and appreciate that there are so many. We need to always be on the lookout for new things, and those are our sources of inspiration when it comes to trying to glocalize it, and for that matter, also uplifting our own cultures. Okay. So on the next part, on inquisitiveness, so it's not just about being inspired by it, but it's also about not taking things at face value. The more that we delve into Korean culture, the more that we try to glocalize it and absorb it and glocalize it and all, we also want to understand why is it that way, like how does it work. Okay? Because we try to nitpick on the production and distribution processes that are involved, and this is what incidentally that I am also working on as a researcher, like trying to learn more on the production and distribution processes. Our panel represents many of the different production and distribution processes. We have digital content, we have cultural content, we have books, okay, both in print and digital forms, okay, and the way that these are distributed. Pre-COVID, it's all about physical interactions, but now we're also appreciating digital, distribution. So we are, okay, and the Koreans are masters of these. So, and then we try to learn from it. We try to nitpick and see how can we own it, how can we know why is it that way. So it's really more about, again, we know more of the what now, so we now turn our attention to questions more on the how and the why. So it really we encourage people to open our minds to absorb content, and then ask questions. How do they do it? Why is it this way? Okay. What makes it popular? Why are we so absorbed into this content? And we've learned a lot as to a number of these hows and whys from our panel this afternoon. Okay. On the third part is the ingenuity. Filipinos are popular for this. We are well known for our ingenuity. So, but I would also like to take into consideration that on how we look and examine from different angles all of these content that we've been seeing. Okay. And then we look for opportunities for improvement. We start, of course, we experiment. Yeah, we experiment, and we refine what we come up with. From simple, let's say, Filipino dubbing of Korean dramas to actual adaptations of Korean content. From translating, and then later on, as Sir Agno mentioned, pushing our content towards the Koreans as well. So we hope that we can use our ingenuity, okay, share to the rest of the world what we can also do, as far as trying to find that balance between adoption of Korean content, glocalizing it, but then at the same time, okay, pushing our own content. Okay. I've also seen some of the comments that we should learn. Yes, both countries can benefit. Yes, Miss Gina, and we also see a lot of efforts now being pushed for. We just need the time and the people, probably, to make this happen. And then, of course, we look at innovation. As a business person, of course, and the unfortunate thing about it is that we have to make this sustainable. We have all of our efforts to be ingenious, to be creative, will not thrive if it's not sustainable. So, and we need to have that commercial angle, so to say, when it comes to innovation. So we study on how are we going to make it profitably and sustainably work. So, and that's the challenge that we are facing, regardless if in your telecoms, or in your book publishing, or in arts and culture. That's the thing. And the unfortunate reality is that we need resources to make this happen. And then, later on, these content have to pay for themselves in order for us to upgrade the facilities, upgrade our supply chains, upgrade our organizations, so that we can produce better content. So we also need to think about the profitability, at least for the short term, the profitability angle, but later on the sustainability angle. Our panel mentioned things that they feel that is going to happen in the next 10 years. And we noticed that the difficulties, we recognize the difficulties that they have towards to making this a sustainable venture. Okay. And then, of course, we also want to properly catch on fads and trends. We don't want to make it just a simple marketing gimmick, but something that we can recognize, something that we can not just squeeze for the gimmick for the gimmick part, but something that really adds value to the creative contents that we are producing. Yeah. And then of course, ultimately, we want to try to make this our own. We don't want to simply be copycats. Miss Jill mentioned a while ago SB19. Yes, it started out probably that way, but now SB19 is growing to have its own identity. With that one. The same thing with the other two groups that we are seeing right now, BGYO and Bini. Okay? I'm very happy actually that we are now, that what started as me probably, the initial impressions would be like that these are mere copycats of K-pop idols, but they are now growing on their own and owning to the fact that these are P-pop, okay, Filipino pop, okay, groups inspired by Korean content. But lastly, of course, it's all going to be all about on inclusivity. We appreciate that there are many production approaches. As I mentioned a while ago, our panel is a representation of the different ways and means in which we consume Korean content and then try to make it our own. Okay, so we appreciate that there are many production approaches. At the same time, we know that there are many distribution channels now. Okay, so it's not just about the physical or the broadcast, okay, but it's also about going online, forming communities, and for that matter, actively participating in these offline and online communities. Okay, and it will help make this endeavor that we're having in glocalizing Korean content and improving our own thrive better, okay, and make it grow. Okay. And we keep in mind that there is a complex breadth and depth of audiences and consumers. Okay. As Wena mentioned, I'm not just an academic, but I'm a fan. I'm more of a K-pop fan. Okay. But I'm also evolving to become a K-drama fan, and a K-culture fan. Our audience today come from different walks of life, and the questions that you have shared, the comments that you have shared, is a representation of that complexity of the breadth and depth of audiences and consumers that we have. And we should recognize that it's not just about the broadcast or the online, but it's also now Apop. Okay, Apop has given us another channel for us to consume Korean content. Government and semi-government organizations, okay, the Cultural Center of the Philippines, NCCA, are also recognizing the importance of this one. And we have the performative arts, okay, is something also that we can also consider when it comes to all of this content that we are sharing. Okay, we are consuming and sharing and trying to improve on. Okay. So as a parting shot, okay, so moving forward, at the end of the day, we recognize that the market is there. Okay, and even now, this market is intensifying. It's still growing. Okay, and more people from across many socioeconomic sectors of the Philippines are getting more and more into the content that we love, okay? that we love, we consume, we share, we rave about, and all that, and more people are becoming more interested to this. Okay, and getting on the hype is merely the beginning. Okay, getting on the hype is merely the beginning. Okay. But so the point there is that regardless of the your production and distribution position in Korean content, the thing about it is we need to understand that if people see good quality content, then they will definitely take the time and effort to consume it. Okay? The market is out there. The challenge for us, okay, now, okay, as on the production and distribution side, is to reciprocate that fan intensity. Okay, that kind of intensity, that the willingness, okay, the willingness now of fans to spend money, okay, to spend time, diba? To spend sleepless nights, diba? Consuming, watching on Netflix, on VU, in Ichi, in Rakuten Viki, and all sorts of different channels in Kumu, so that we can enjoy the content that we have. Okay? Now that's especially now that's made more affordable for us, and we have now a growing diversity of how we can consume this content. How can we consume this content? We just need to reciprocate those efforts, okay, as producers and distributors of this content. And that meme, that you're seeing right now, is actually an accurate representation of Hallyu audiences out there, myself included, with this one. So with that, with that short synthesis that I've shared you tonight. So yeah, thank you very much for your attention. Okay, Chomokhe, Jusoseo, Kamsahamnida.
Uridu 정말 감사합니다. 선생님 Kyosanim, actually. Thank you po sa ating yung mga na-comment kanina, mga tanong were addressed by Sir Eric, especially regarding yung ako yung takeaway ko basically is while we see yung flourishing ng localization of K-culture here in the Philippines, isang role ng mga consumers is to be intelligent consumers and producers also, no, in the future. Yung power din kasi na hawak ng audience and fans are sobrang wide and deep yung pwedeng ma-reach, no? So hopefully magamit natin siya not just for the benefit of one side or another, but also to make a good bridge, a good connection then in between the countries that are represented here, Korea and the Philippines. Ayan. Maraming salamat po ulit sa ating Professor Capistrano for that synthesis. And also, before we move on to our closing part of the program. Ang bilis lang talaga, no po. Hopefully, ang KRC po, hindi naman sila napapagod na gumawa ng, marami rin ako nakikita na comments na sana marami pang forum na kagaya nito, yung mga nagtitesis dyan, at saka mga nangangailangan ng mga supporting na, at saka up-to-date na mga comments from experts, mga insights from experts. Abangan natin yan from more activities and efforts ng UP Korea Research Center, and of course yung mga din natin dito, panelists in their industries. Before we end, or before we go towards the end, may we ask, may we call back our speakers, our panelists, to give their parting remarks. Ayan. So, meron pa po kayong gustong, of course, pwede nyo na po isama yung promotion. May gusto pa kayong sabihin at iparating sa ating mga audience. And this is your time na po. Ayan. Can we start with Ms. Jill again? Ms. Jill?
For me, I just have one appeal because I think generally the audience is millennial, no, and I have a 24-year-old son. I know how second nature the internet is for everybody. Please play it right. And don't rip content from the internet, because we should respect the intellectual property. Kasi what we reap is what we sow, right? So if you want great content coming from the Philippines, and you yourselves are probably creatives, you're stealing from the livelihood of the creators. So I hope we respect it so that there can be better Filipino content that can be reaching everybody. Kung hindi mawawalan sila ng gana. No? So I hope everybody plays it right.
Thank you, Ms. Jill. Very well said. Ibang usapan din talaga yung copyright, pero thank you po for mentioning it. Sir Agno?
I just want to thank everyone for listening. And I hope you guys support Apop Books. No? If you feel like you're someone that can help out, get in touch with us, no? Kasi we need the help, no? And yun lang, no? Please visit our website, apopbooks.com. Thank you.
Welcome daw sila for help, guys. Yung mga nagko-comment dyan, email na. Okay, Joshua?
Ayan. Of course, thank you very much po again for UP Korea Korea Center for inviting us with this. And I am privileged to represent CCP, and together with Ma'am Jill and Sir Agno with this today's event. Sa CCP naman po ay, ayun, tuloy po yung ating yung ating mga proyekto sa kabila ng pandemya. At of course, we're looking forward for more partnerships, more collaborations to our private and government sectors, to our LGUs, of course. And ako po, personally, yun, totoo yung sinasabi ni Ma'am Go na we need to support our artists, our local artists on our way talaga, no? Na I think naman din as consumers, meron tayong, kaya nating gawa ng paraan yung pag-support sa ating mga local artists. And I think that's the most important. And last po, I would like to promote Kanto Kanta. On Wednesday, we will have our final. So we have top 15. It is now up on YouTube, so you can check their entries. Top 15 po namin. And ayun po. You may also like our social media pages sa Kanto Kultura. Ayun po. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. Actually, po ng pasasalamat natin sa ating mga panelists. We super appreciate your time, your efforts, your insights. Ano po, nakamapa na kayo sa sa materials and of course yung mga efforts in deepening the conversation, actually widening the conversation ng Korean culture industry, na hindi lang siya talaga K-pop, Hallyu, ang dami niyang nare-reach, no, sa ating mga buhay, hindi lang as individuals but even as a country, no, as Filipinos as well. So we really appreciate your presence, your expertise, your comments, and the hope. Sa akin, mas yung hope na binibigay niyo further for the Philippines despite the pandemic, that we have many things to look forward to, not just no, kapag natapos itong pandemic, but even beyond. So, thank you very much again. Sa lahat po ng nanonood ngayon, palakpakan natin kahit di nila nakikita ang ating mga speakers and panelists, and even si Dr. Capistrano. Thank you very much. And of course, UPKRC, maraming salamat po, Korean Research Center, for giving this platform para po makapag-share ng mga insights sa topic na ito. Sa ating mga viewers po, if you will post this video or comment, please include po the hashtag UPKRC and hashtag K-Culture. And yung mga sinusuportahan natin din dito, hashtag Apop Books, hashtag Globe, hashtag K-Community, hashtag Kanto Kultura, hashtag ano pa, CCP. So ilagay na po natin lahat ng pwedeng malagay. Kung talaga nagustuhan po natin to at gusto rin natin dumami pa at ma-appreciate, marami pa mas maka-appreciate, maka-reach nung content ng UPKRC din. Sana po at ng ating mga panelists, sana distribute din natin or ma-spread din natin by using these hashtags. And for those who are link, ayan, yung link po natin for evaluation, for those who are waiting for may certificate po tayo na in-offer, but you can only access and fill out the evaluation form until 5 p.m. So it's open now, https://bit.ly/kculture2021, and you can see it in the comment section as well. So I hope you can submit, no, sana po ma-reach natin yung 5 p.m. deadline, hopefully. As we mentioned, we also have further events and that we hope na masuportahan din natin sa UPKRC 7th Philippine Korean Studies Symposium coming up on July 15 to 16. I never miss from day one ng Philippine Korean Studies Symposium. Sobrang dami niyo po matututunan dito. Please do come. It's a free event, so register lang po tayo. You can reach UPKRC via their and these mga sponsors, pwede natin makita yung mga websites nila and access yung mga details po. Also, there's a Mabini Dialogue Series co-hosted by the UPKRC and Foreign Service Institute coming up on July 27. There, I think we've had everything. Meron pa ba tayong yes, yung mga nagtatanong po ng live recording, hintay lang po tayo. Yan, magiging accessible po yan sa UPKRC YouTube, right? Tama po ba ako? Okay, yes. Maraming salamat po ulit. Meron pa ba tayong idadagdag? For further information, you may visit the Facebook page of UPKRC and of course, yung mga nabanggit po natin na panelists ito. Or if you want to email further, di pa kayo na-satisfy sa mga tanong at hindi nyo ma-reach, nahiya kayong dumiretso kina Miss Go, kina Miss Jill, Mr. Agno, or Mr. Joshua, you can email us at pkrc@up.edu.ph. Maraming salamat po kay Dr. Kyong Min Be and Miss Pam, who's behind the scenes. Hindi po sila nagpapakita pero malaking bagay po ang kanilang ginawa na pagbibigay sa atin ng platform na to. Maraming salamat po, dito po nagtatapos ang ating forum, K-Culture Forum. We hope to see you further support, not just our panelists here, no, but in general, yung collaboration ng Korean efforts. And Sir Eric, baka pala may gusto kayo habol. Okay na po ba? Manood tayo.
We're good. Okay. I hope I can see you guys on the 7th PKSS.
Yes, 7th PKSS po. Ayan, Philippine Korean Studies.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, this is K-Culture of UPKRC signing off. Maraming salamat po ulit sa lahat na nakasama natin ngayong hapon. Thank you very much, Ms. Chill,
Thank you.
Mr. George.
Salamat.
Thank you po.